Hey guys, you're welcome back to my channel. My name is Feoluwa. In this video I'm going to show you guys how to draft and cut the upper part of this gown, which is the corset with a basque waistline. So if this is something you're interested in learning, stick around and watch this video to the end. And if you're also seeing this video and you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please do well to subscribe, give this video a thumbs up, and also feel free to leave your questions or your comments in the comment section. Now let's get started. So these are my measurements: the bust measurements, the waist, the bust point, the under bust, the front waistline measurement, the back waistline measurement, the across back, which is the shoulder to shoulder, and then the armhole circumference. So I'm going to get started with the front pattern of this corset. So first of all, I'm going to measure out my chest line, which is my armhole circumference divided by 2. Then I'm going to mark that point. Then I'll mark my bust point, the under bust, and then the front waistline. So I'll do the same thing at the other side and then connect together. So I have this as my shoulder line, the chest line, the bust point, the under bust, and then the front waistline. Now I'm going to take my across back measurements divided by 2 so as I can create my armhole. So I'm going to take it on the shoulder line and the chest line, then I'll connect together. Now on the shoulder line, I'll come down by 1 inch, and whatever I have left I'll divide by 2 and mark, then come in by 0.75. On the chest line, I'm going to take my bust measurement divided by 4, then I'm going to connect those 3 points together to create my armhole. So I'm going to label this part as my center front and the other part as my side front. Now I'll take my neckline measurements. I'll be using 3 inches for the width and also 3 inches for the depth. Then I'm going to connect together with my French curve and also connect my shoulder slants together. Now I'm going to mark out my bust span, which is the nipple to nipple measurements on the chest line down to the waistline. Then I'll connect together. So on the waistline towards the center front, I'll come in by 0.5 and I'll take 1.5 outside. I'm going to do the same thing on the under bust and then connect together with a straight line. Then after connecting that, I'm going to use my French curve to connect from the under bust to the bust points. Then I'll look for the midpoint on my shoulder slant and then connect into the bust point. So I'm just showing you guys here how I looked for the midpoint. So whatever I have there, I'll divide by 2 and then I'll connect it into the bust point like that. Now I already have my bust measurement here divided by 4. Then I'm also going to put my waist measurement divided by 4, and then whatever I have there, I'll add it to the waist measurements, and I'm going to connect from the chest line to the waistline. Now I have my front waistline as 17 inches and the back waistline as 15. So the difference between that is 2 inches. So I'm going to take the 2 inches at the side there and connect it into the bust points. Then I'll proceed to take my neck measurement for the corset. So it depends on how deep you want it to be. I'm going to leave it at the chest line here. Then at the armhole, I'm going to take 5 inches and then connect with a sweetheart neckline. Now to prevent gaping on the corset, I'm going to take 0.5 inches on both sides like that and connect into the bust point. Then I'll go ahead to measure out the yoke, that is for the neck part of the dress. So I'm going to be taking 3 inches from there and I'll be connecting with a straight line down to the neckline of the corset. So this is going to be the yoke, the front yoke. So these are the parts that will be cutting out of this pattern paper. We don't need this part in our dress. Now I'm going to extend this neckline to replace the inches that we took here because of the gaping. So we took about 1 inch here. So I'm going to just extend this part like this and measure out what I have here, which is 1 inch. I'm going to measure it out on the extended part, and then on the chest line, I'm going to divide the bust. I already have the bust there divided. Then I'm going to replace whatever I have there and add it to that part. And I'm going to draw out my new armhole. Now I'm going to proceed to cut out what I have. Then I'm going to cover up the side that and draw out a new line. So this is it, and you can see the yoke there. Now for this part, by the time you fold it like this, you see that it is not equal. You don't have equal necklines anymore. So before you proceed to cut it out on your fabric, you can just replace whatever is lost from that part. So I'm just going to add this paper to it and then cut out a new neckline. Now let's cut out the cups for our corset. From the center front, I'm going to be taking ½ inch in. So if you want it wider, you can take 1.5 inches or 0.75 inches. So it depends on how wide you want that midpoint to be. Then from the under bust, I'm going to connect it to that point, to the half inches point that I took. Then for the other cup, I'm just going to use my curve to create the other cup. Then after doing that, I'll cut out what I have. So let's move on to how to cut out the basque waistline. So this is what I have. I'm going to join this together with my masking tape first of all. Then I'm going to attach another pattern paper like this, as you can see me doing, and then I'm going to use my masking tape just to hold that in place. Then I'm going to measure out the length of the basque that I want. So I am using 5 inches for this one. You can go as low as 4 inches and you can go more than 5 inches, but I'm going to leave this at 5 inches. Then from the waistline there, from the side there, I'm going to connect it. You can either use this kind of V, or you can just use a sharp V, but I like using the curved part of the V, so I'm just going to use this like that from the side there down to the 5 inches that we took. So your basque waistline is ready. Then you can cut it out. So here I'm just trying to create the boning channels, so you can use whatever shape or whatever size of boning channels you want. So I'm just going to create this one little like this, and then I'm going to label them. So guys, this is it for the front pattern. Make sure you correctly label your pattern paper so that you won't carry them for each other. Now for the back pattern, I'm going to take out my zip allowance first. So I have 1 inch as my zip allowance, and I'm going to connect together. Now I'll measure out my chest line measurements and then the back waistline measurement. So I'm going to do the same thing on the other side and connect together. So this is the shoulder line, the chest line, and then the back waistline. Then I'll label this part as the center back line. Now I'm going to take my across back measurement from the center back line. So that is 14 divided by 2. I'm going to do it on the shoulder line and the chest line. Then I'm going to connect together. Then I'll come down by 1 inch on the shoulder line, and whatever I have left, I'll divide by 2 and mark the point. Come in by 0.5 here. And then on the chest line, I'm going to take my bust measurement divided by 4. Then I'm going to connect those 3 points together to create my armhole. Now I'm going to create my basic neckline, that is 3 inches for the width and then 1 inch for the depth. And I'm going to connect that and also connect my shoulder slants. Now on the waistline from the center back line, I'm going to go in by 1 inch and then I'll connect it into the chest line. So that is going to be the line of my new zip allowance. Then I'm going to measure out my waist measurement, that is from the new points that I took for the zip allowance. That new point, I'm going to take the waist measurement divided by 4 plus 1 inch for that. Then I'm going to connect from the chest line to the waistline. Then I'll mark out my dart measurement. So I'm still going to use the 3.5 I used at the front, which is the nipple to nipple measurement. I'll mark it on that part, then take in 0.5 inches on both sides. Then on the chest line, I'm also going to mark my 3.5 inches. So don't forget that 3.5 inches, you'll mark it from the center back line, that is the original line. So I'm just going to connect this together like that. Now if you want the back to also have a yoke, you can come down by the 5 inches, the same thing we used at the front, that is the armhole measurement we used at the front, 5 inches. And then for the neckline, we used 3 inches at the front. You do the same thing here. Then you connect with a straight line from that 3 inches. Now for the neck depth of your back, you can decide to use the same 5 inches if you want a straight neckline. You can go lower than 5 inches if you want. So but for this, I'm just going to leave it at 5 inches and I'm going to connect like this. So I have this as my back yoke, and then I'm going to cut it out. Now if you also don't want your darts to show in your clothes when you are sewing, you can just extend this and then cut out the darts. Then you can use your masking tape to gum it back together. Now if you want to fix a lacing for the back, you want the back to be laced instead of zip, you can just measure out how you want the width you want the lacing to be. Then you just know that this zip allowance is not needed anymore, so you measure out from the original line without the zip allowance. So you can go 4 inches or 3 inches, but I'm going to leave this one at 3 inches at the upper side and then 2 inches at the lower side. Then I'll connect together and cut out. So this is what the back pattern is going to look like. Then you can proceed to fixing your eyelets or whatever you want to be using, whatever you're going to use for the lacing. So guys, this is all for the drafting and the cutting of this corset with basque waistline. So we have come to the end of this tutorial. Do not forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't done that yet, and thanks to all those who have done it. And thank you for watching this video to the end. See you in my next video. Bye.